It is difficult to imagine the moment. You can see the photographs of it, but to feel the vibe of it, okay? Just think about it. It's a midnight, August of 1947. The then Kingsway Rajpath is packed all the way up. North Block and South Block, people are literally hanging from the trees. And our Jawaharlal Nehru is coming, and the British Union Jack gets taken down, and a Indian tricolor goes up for the first time. You think of large crowds in the modern context, you think large crowds in the modern context are political rallies or cricket matches, football matches, large crowds of people chanting, the hubbub, okay? So this is a moment, okay? Now I can recite Nehru's speech from memory. I just remember it. I wish I would have been there to experience the moment. So moments come which come but rarely in history, when we step out from the old into the new, when an age ends and the soul of a nation long suppressed finds utterance. It is fitting that at this solemn moment we make the pledge of dedication to the service of India and her people, and to the still larger cause of humanity. That's how Tryst with Destiny ends. Somebody very senior in the Congress party, by very senior I mean very, very senior, okay, part of the family, once told me when I was younger that the family roar was in the Nehru Gandhi family, that a part of this speech at least was either extempore or written last minute, that it truly came not because it was a speech artistry, but it was actually coming from the heart. No reason not to disbelieve that. So now a moment is coming, and we are all aware of the moment. What is the moment? The inaugural of a new parliament building, and we have a controversy regarding it. So let's put out some details on our screens. Can we please? I'll be very grateful. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a newspaper article. This is just under 100 years old. A striking scene. The spectators included a large number of members of the legislatures with their khaddar wearing Swarajis proportionally as numerous as the members of any other party. These sat on the left of the vice-regal dais. The ruling princes grouped on the right of the throne included their highnesses of the Maharajas of Patiala, of Orcha, of Bharatpur, Faridkot, and the Raja of Panagal. All were in their full darbar robes, and their jewelled turbans scintillating in the sun distinguished them from all portions of the arena. The members of the Viceroy's Executive Council, who were stationed about the dais, and numberless other high officers of state were in full uniform. Arrival of the Viceroy was then done. This is the scene at the inauguration of what was the Chamber of Princes and the Council of the Viceroy. This then, ladies and gentlemen, is yet another one. Noticeable among the large body of members of the Indian legislature on the left of the throne were the white-clad Pandit Motilal Nehru and others, the Swarajis being proportionately as numerous as members of the others party. It's been highlighted there. Here's another one. The members of the Assembly and Council of State, particularly the former chamber, attended in large numbers, included leaders of the Congress, Independent Congress, and other independent parties. The loudspeakers installed by the Standard and Telephone Cables Limited worked well and made thousands hear both Shri R.N. Mitra and the Viceroy. These enabled the audience spontaneously to get up to hear the King's message. This is a description of the inaugural of what we today call our present Parliament building, which I again repeat. The cabinet was the Viceroy's Privy Council. The lower house was the Viceroy's Council. The upper house was the Chamber of Princes. That's what this building was built for. Now we're building a new one. Well, we built it, it's almost ready, and we're inaugurating it on the 28th. I want you to put two facts of logic out, and then of course a political conversation follows. What are the two facts of logic? I want you to imagine the same vibrant ceremony on the midnight of 14th intervening 15th August. and Mountbatten, Lord Louis Mountbatten of Burma, unfurling the Indian tricolour. Theoretically, for some reason, we made Lord Louis Mountbatten the first Governor General. But it wasn't him. It had to be Nehru, right? Obviously. I also want you then to think about it, that in the present day, it's a moment which we have now decided, at least some people have decided, that although invited, they would prefer not to attend. Some would say on the argument of a technicality, some would say on the very essential argument of constitutional and democratic propriety. Let's have that conversation. It's not an easy one, it's a charged one. So let's start. Joining us now on the broadcast is Joyita Basu, she's editor of the Sunday Guard, Vinita Hariharan, representing the Bharatiya Janata Party, Ikram Sandhu, representing the Congress, and Abhinandita Mathur, representing the Aam Aadmi Party. Okay, so let's start with Mr. Sandhu. Mr. Sandhu, will members of the Congress Party, elected members of Parliament, will they be attending the inaugural of the new Parliament, sir?
Good evening, Rishabh-ji, and a warm good evening to all the other panelists. No, we have made it very clear today, if as things stand today, and the president of the country, Draupadi Murmu, is not the one who is inaugurating the parliament, Congress Party and 18 other political parties will not be attending the inauguration of the new parliament.
What is the issue of, is it an issue of constitutionality, of propriety, of form, of logic? What is your objection in raising this issue, sir?
All these, you have named them. I'll just give you a simple example which every Indian will understand. Now, they say that it's the government which works. Narendra Modi ji is the head of the government. Therefore, he is entitled to inaugurate this parliament. Okay. Now, I give you an Indian example for this. We all have weddings in our family. It is the father who works for the wedding of his daughter. But when the card is published, it's always in the name of the grandparents. The eldest. The eldest in the family invites everybody. It is Shrimati and Shri so-and-so, granddaughter, and then the father's name and the mother's name come under it, and the brother's name come in the last. Now, the work is done by the father. The work is done by the son. But the honor is always given to the elder.
Okay.
And as far as
Okay. Just I have a follow-up question, sir, and it's a very practical question. We have a father, you say, of the country. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. We call him Mahatma Gandhi. It was Jawaharlal Nehru, sir, and Mr. Nehru, the Constitutional Assembly people were still on. We became a republic about 3 years later.
Right.
So it wasn't M.K. Gandhi who came and unfurled the tricolour. It was Jawaharlal Nehru.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
Why was that, sir?
Because Mr. Jawaharlal Nehru was the first Prime Minister, and the first Governor General of independent India was Lord Mountbatten.
No, but he wasn't the Prime Minister in 47, sir. He became Prime Minister, of course, in 52.
That was after the election. That was after the election. But his designation, as on midnight of 15th August 1947, was the Prime Minister of India.
Correct.
That was not that
He becomes the elected Prime Minister in 52. And of course, we had the anomaly of having a British Viceroy who became the Governor General. So there was a logic. But why not M.K. Gandhi, sir? Father of the country even then. Why not him?
He was the father of the country. That is what I'm saying. But constitutionally, he didn't hold any position. And that is what we are saying. It might have been apt if he would have done it, but it was against the spirit of the Constitution as it came up after that.
Okay. Don't you think on this matter that there are a lot of people in this country who are pretty excited for the moment, and it will just rob it of a little bit of your presence?
So, Rishabh ji, I'll just say something. Let the Prime Minister have magnanimity in him. He should agree that in the order of precedence that our Constitution has given to us, the first citizen of the country is the President. The second is the Vice President, and he comes in at number 3. The number 3 is a very high position. On the plaque, his name will be there. Everything will be there.
Okay.
But just do the right thing.
But you know the counter argument that it is the President and Vice President of this country are elected. But they are part of a secondary election. They are elected by the representatives of the houses at the state legislatures and, of course, the representatives of Parliament. Let me get Ms. Mathur in before I get Ms. Hariharan in. Ms. Mathur, is your conscientious quote-unquote objection the same, the similar? Because you're no fans of the Congress party per se, but do you agree with them on this count?
I don't think it matters whether or not the Congress party are fans of each other. At this point, I think what is important is to really see and judge for ourselves and be very careful about where we are taking the country. Why I say this is because day after day, you and I are spending a lot of time discussing some very precarious constitutional matters. And unfortunately, it is thanks to the BJP that we're having to do this. I'll quickly, I must compliment you for your opening. I think it was a really inspiring and inspiring visual that, you made us imagine. But look at that historic moment. That was a moment when India was gaining independence from the British, a foreign invader, a foreign imperial power. Right? And therefore, it was a historical moment, and we started our parliament. Here is a situation, here is a moment where we perhaps did not need a new building, regardless. Chaliye, koi baat nahi, beech COVID mein karodo, hazaro karodo ka parliament bana rahe. But we are not, BJP is sort of, creating a moment, trying to create a narrative as if we are just winning a war against some opponent. But these are all political parties, from within your country. Not inviting the president, for God's sake, she's your president. And you're right that she's higher up in ranks. She's also the head of the legislation. There is no doubt about it. And then comes the vice president and then Prime Minister Modi. No political party right now is opposing today Prime Minister Modi. What everybody is opposing, or rather what has disturbed and outraged everybody is that here is an opportunity, that we have a very, very
really
remarkable person.
You really think that the President, Draupadi Murmu, is feeling outraged this evening? Maybe some people won't agree with that. Of course, she's not put her opinion on this matter out in public.
I didn't say that she is. I didn't say that she is.
Okay, let me follow up. There are many people who say that this is just sour grapes. It's a historical moment. It is Narendra Modi's vision, and you are just jealous and bitter and don't want to attend that celebration.
That is what we are saying, that every day we are having to come and make these arguments about some very fundamental basic structure of our constitution and foundations of our country. We would rather be debating actually some political stuff, something about governance, but we are having to discuss. This is a very scary moment.
Are you sure you're not missing a moment, ma'am? That this is going to be an important moment. A new parliament is not going to be built in our lifetimes. All the members of parliament. So are the members of parliament going to refuse to go to this building? Will they boycott the building also in the future?
Not at all.
So you will go to it a few days later, but you won't go for the inaugural.
The problem at the inaugural is, and we don't have to mix these two things. Look, what we are protesting is that the president should have inaugurated, and that is the right thing to do.
Okay, so you are saying, you are insisting it's constitutional propriety. It is not just petty bitterness and sour grapes. We leave it to the people watching the broadcast to judge. Let me get Ms. Hariharan, who's patiently listened to everyone, into this conversation. Vinitha Hariharan, okay, this is a project which has not been conceived by the current president. It precedes her tenureship. This is a project that is representing Parliament, and the senior most elected member of Parliament in terms of our setup is the Prime Minister. But why have only the Prime Minister and not have the President and Vice President there? That's the question that the opposition has put to you.
Yes, Rishabh. So first of all, I think it's a bunch of disgruntled opposition parties that is opposing such an iconic moment in the history of independent India. When you took the example of independence itself, and when Jawaharlal Nehru ji, chose to raise the flag then. So this is a similarly iconic moment, because since 1927 we have not had a new parliament. I mean, sorry, since the independent times, and since around, I think the parliament building itself is around 85 years old, and this was a need that was expressed in 2012 by the Congress themselves, that we need a new parliament building. And who put it into action? It was Prime Minister Modi who did it in record time. The new parliament.
So why aren't they coming? Do you buy the argument you've just heard that this is a matter of propriety and good form? Do you buy that argument, or do you think this is about pettiness and point scoring?
Absolutely petty politics, disgruntled opposition politicizing such an iconic national moment in history of independent India. And the Prime Minister is the leader of the parliament. He is the leader of the nation, and it is his vision. And the Murmu ji is absolutely.
So why give these parties the opportunity? Invite the president, invite the vice president, prime minister is also there. Why give them the opportunity to catch you on a technicality? Why not just do it?
This is a prerogative of the prime minister and of the government in question, and I think the opposition is just making a big hue and cry at this moment. I think they should have set aside all of these differences and come together, because it's an absolutely fantastic parliament building that is for the parliamentarians, all the parliamentarians, across the political spectrum. So let's celebrate the moment. Let's not get lost in petty.
There is always an opportunity for statesmanship. You can argue that statesmanship works both ways, but there is a moment where the people of this country would expect that all our politicians, regardless of the fact whether they like Narendra Modi or don't like him, or agree with his politics or don't agree with politics, or in fact are adamant in trying to undercut him in every way, that one day they could all stand together for the national anthem. And this would have been one of those days, but unfortunately it's not going to be. And now you can argue it both ways. Let me get Joyita Basu for a perspective in. Joyita Basu, why not? Why is a calculation being made, and not just one, several political parties have made a calculation that when they go back to the people of this country, after having boycotted this ceremony, the people will believe the technical argument on which they've said no?
Well, I think if that is what they believe, then they have lost touch with the ground reality. Because I think the primary grouse is that they don't want to see Prime Minister Modi's name on the plaque. As someone who, as the Prime Minister, this building was inaugurated by the Prime Minister.
Why? What would be the issue behind it?
It's obviously petty politics.
There are lots of plaques of Indira Gandhi, of Rajiv Gandhi all over the place. Why? As we mentioned, the parliamentary library was inaugurated by Rajiv. That plaque is there. Why would that be a problem?
Yeah, they have a problem with, I think, everything that is related to Mr. Modi. So I think, they just don't like the idea of his
No, but
name.
why? They've sat down, okay, so a conversation has been had. It's not an arbitrary move. Some mind has been applied to it. We won't show up. And not by we, not just one, several parties won't show up.
No, you see, this is one way of, number one, showing opposition unity. And number two, this is actually not so much about opposing BJP, but about sending out a message to their own voters that this is one issue we can unite on. That you should feel outraged about it. But if you ask me, on 28th May, when the inauguration happens, no one, general voters will not even remember the outrage. So it is actually their loss. But having said that, Rishabh, I agree with you that yes, I think they should have sent an invitation to the Vice President and the President.
No, then it's protocol. Then it's protocol.
That they should have done.
No, that was a judgment call. But in protocol, it's they are doing the inauguration. So a judgment call has been made. Now the question then remains, and let me put that to Mr. Sandhu of the Congress. Mr. Sandhu, do you think the people of this country share in your outrage?
Well, Rishabh, I think so they do. We represent the people, we understand the pulse of the people. Karnataka has shown that the Congress does understand what the pulse of the people is, and we believe there is a right and a wrong. Now, what is happening on 28th of May is wrong. The president is on a pedestal. The pedestal should not be removed, and the prime minister should not have an all-encompassing attitude that it is just I, me, and myself. That is not how democracy works. You are the head of the government, but the first citizen of the country is the president, and such honor has to go to a bipartisan person in the country, which
Okay.
is the president of the country. who
Okay, so
does
but
not belong to
so is the anger going to be reflected? You're thinking that most people in this country then will not watch the inaugural because they'll be so upset and so outraged?
Well, don't put words in my mouth like that. I'm not saying that. It's not that we are calling for a boycott call of the new parliament. Let's not be so hysterical about something like that. They are taking a step. We fundamentally did not even agree with such amount of money being spent on the new parliament when it could have been put to other better use while we were through the pandemic. But that is water under the bridge. That has happened. The new parliament building is up and it is running in the next 5 days. All we say is that propriety has to be managed. We are not calling for, a boycott of the new.
So this has got
parliament.
nothing to do. This has got nothing to do with the fact that you're just upset that Narendra Modi's name is going to be on the plaque. This is not that. This is absolutely got to do with constitutional propriety.
Let's be very serious about it.
No, I'm being very serious.
So I'm answering you seriously. Even if the president had inaugurated it, his name would have been on the plaque. If you have seen plaques, they always say, it's been inaugurated
in the presence
by
of.
In the presence of, and in the presence, the vice president's name, the prime minister's name, since the vice president is the head of the upper house, the speaker's name would have been there. So his name would have been there. For, posterity, it would have been always in the annals of history, it would have gone that during his reign as the prime minister, this new parliamentary building came up. But why this, total, what you can say,
No, but Mr. Sandhu, then the question comes back to you also, no? That we are knowing full well that a project which was important, you can argue the cost of it, but all of us know the situation the old parliament 100-year-old building was in. The purpose for which it was built was as a chamber of princes, which does not exist in modern day India, and new infrastructure was required. You can argue in any house reconstruction or construction you do how much you want to spend. Putting that aside, this parliament inaugural is going to happen once, and many people will think you're just being petty. You just don't like it because it's Narendra Modi and you're not being able to stand shoulder and shoulder with your prime minister as he is mine on a day like this.
You can say that we are petty if the right protocol was followed, if the president was doing it, and then we would have boycotted. Then you had every right in the world to say that yes, opposition is being petty. We are coming on a very basic issue that the right of the first citizen of the country is being upsurged, and the prime minister is doing that just because it's a vanity project and it's a photo op that he cannot miss.
Okay.
The total, adulation that he requires.
Okay, so we have established in precedent, okay, and there are many reasons and explanations for it. Some you will believe, some you will not. But we've established in precedent that the first Governor General of India was a British man. So it was Jawaharlal Nehru as Prime Minister who both took the Sengol, which is going to be presented there, and he embodied the man who would take over the transition of power. There was a good reason for that. It wasn't even Mahatma Gandhi. There are two other constructions which were done in the parliament. One was the parliament annex and the parliament library. One was inaugurated by Indira Gandhi, the other by Rajiv Gandhi as prime minister. But when it comes to a new parliament building, there's a point of technicality. Let me get Abhinanta back in. Abhinanta ji, same argument can be put to you that you're just being petty. This is a chance, and the people of the country, people of the world will be watching. And all Indian political parties and members of parliament should have been there shoulder to shoulder with their prime minister. He's yours as he is mine. And you're just being ridiculous. How do you respond to that?
You're right, Rishabhji. It is always a matter of shame when we have to, when we are not able to, as a country, put a united front. And that is an unfortunate thing. Unfortunately, this is also caused by the ruling party. If they had invited the Honorable President, it would have been such a glorious moment. Because that is when there is some, what are we celebrating? What is this independence from? Right? We do have a new building. We do have a good new building. It's very great and it was required. We believe in all that. Nobody is being petty here. But what is this freedom from? Are we really going to celebrate our freedom when actually the president, who is also a woman and from a marginalized community, and so that is freedom, that she is today the president, then why would we not have her as the person who's inaugurating. That would bring a lot of glory to to the country. That would also give a lot of confidence to a lot of people in the country, who today aspire to be like her.
Well,
So
ma'am,
think
I
that
can hark back and argue on propriety. It's the British who inaugurated the previous building. It was Lord Irwin as Viceroy who did it. Now, you can argue that his head of state was actually the king, and the king wasn't there for the inauguration. Very bad. Everybody should have boycotted, but nobody did. So you can argue the points of technicality. The question, of course, remains is the people who are your voting public, and very much so. Yes, all of you win elections and win votes. The Congress does, and so do you. Whether they'll be convinced by the argument or not. Before I get in the BJP's voice on this, let me get Joyita back in. Joyita, will the moment lose its value or be sullied by this opposition boycott in large numbers?
Will people remember, say 10 years from now on, that the opposition boycotted the inauguration of the parliament? No one will. 5 years down the line, 1 year down the line, 5 months down the line, no one will remember. And opposition certainly cannot say, what is going to happen right now is that, I can say for certain, social media will be flooded with memes about, the opposition is saying bye to parliament, they are not. This is basically portents of what is going to happen in the Lok Sabha elections. The opposition will not be entering the Lok Sabha precincts, premises. Opposition is going to become a butt of joke, because you see what is happening, this kind of high horsing does not cut with the public. And the thing is, you see, what we have to remember.
Joyita, on these matters, okay, the Congress is getting better at it, okay, understanding what needs to get done versus just Modi bashing. The Aam Aadmi Party has actually been very good at it in the past couple of years. They've, in fact, Arvind Kejriwal comes out and agrees with Narendra Modi on certain things, which have come to national security, which he didn't do in the past. In fact, if the government at center is doing Har Ghar Tiranga, he's doing Har Haath Tiranga. So what is that one thing? What is the imagery? Can they just not be photographed standing at the inaugural together? Is that the concern?
No, I think I told you in what I said in the first part of the debate. The problem is that the sheer animosity towards Narendra Modi, and I think that animosity, that jealousy is driving them towards this. They don't want his name on the plaque.
I'm running short of time. I'll leave a quick word in from Vanitha Hariharan. Vanitha Hariharan, we still have a few days to go, ma'am. Is there something that the government and the party can do to still reach out to the opposition leaders? Okay. You have a plan in place, but I'm assuming every effort can still be made to convince them.
No, absolutely. It's an invite to all, and will be to all in the moment. There'll be no going back on that. So it's the government of the day. It's a responsible government, and we would be extending invitations to all. And it is up to the the parties to behave in the way that they want to, and that itself shows them in that kind of light which they are projecting themselves. And as far as the cost of the Parliament building, I would like to give a rebuttal on this, that it is around 1,000 crores, which is a record budget. And if you look at the budgets of the Aam Aadmi Party over the last 3 months of the 150 crores that they spent on publicity, look at the Nehru Samadhi, which is around, the prime land that is occupied is around 1,71,500 crores.
So ma'am, this debate we've already closed a couple of years ago. Yes, a new building was required. Okay. I don't visit Parliament very often, but I'm sure the MPs do. And South Block, North Block are not in the best of state, not pleasant places. I don't know if you've ever been to Shastri Bhavan and these other buildings. They were foul-smelling places to visit, let alone take guests. Okay, I'm short of time. I'll leave it you to make a judgment call. We still have a few days to go. Maybe thoughts will change. What you're watching on your screens, of course, is the Sengol, which we've just discovered, which was given to Nehru 1 hour before independence, which will be placed behind the Speaker's chair in Lok Sabha. So I'll leave it to you to judge. Do you think that this is a principled opposition which you buy, or is it just petulance that we can't be seen doing anything that Narendra Modi is seen to be the brainchild of?
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.